So I just want to give everyone here, both in the building and outside of the building, a very, very warm welcome. My name is Shelley Dolan, and I have the huge honour to be the Chief Executive of the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre, known to everybody worldwide as Peter Mac. As we start today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land that we are meeting on today, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I would also like to give lots of very warm welcomes. First of all, to the Honourable Anthony Carbine, MP and Victorian Parliamentary Secretary for Health. I've not been here that long, and I've met Anthony twice, so that's a very good thing, I think. And I'd also like to extend a very warm welcome to our board chair, the Honourable Professor Maxine Morand, who we will hear from in a minute, and you can see her up on your screen there. I would also like to welcome our very special guests from the Prostate Cancer Foundation, based in the United States of America, who join us via video conference. We are welcoming Dr. Howard Sewell, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Science Officer of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, who I believe is joining us from Santa Monica. Dr. Jonathan Simons, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Prostate Foundation. Mr. Stein Erik Hagen, who is joining us all the way from Oslo in Norway, and who has provided us with this incredibly generous donation to establish ProsTIC, and more about that in a minute. And I also want to acknowledge and welcome Mr. Michael Milken, the founder and chairman of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, who has recorded a video message for us as he is not able to be here. And then can I welcome people in the room today? I won't go through absolutely everybody because we would run out of time. But can I particularly welcome the representatives of the Peter Mac Foundation, our Executive Director, Jennifer Dubell, and the Order of Australia, Director Carl Young. I don't know if Carl's here. Oh, he's not able to be here today. Jennifer works tirelessly, as all of you know, to support everything we do at Peter Mac in research-led cancer care. So a very big thank you to Jennifer. My colleagues, Professor Ricky Johnston, Peter Mac, Executive Director of Cancer Research, and Associate Professor Dominic Wall, Executive Director of Business Ventures, and Nicole Tweddle, our Chief Operating Officer, who did a lot of work in the beginning to get this whole venture started. And our very important guest today, Professor Michael Hoffman, who is a internationally renowned nuclear medicine physician and now the ProsTIC Programme Director. And I welcome everybody else here and tuning in via YouTube. Now, as many of you will know, and some of you won't know, I started off my professional life as a nurse. And when I started to work in cancer care, which is quite a few years ago now, we won't count how many, but it's over 30 years ago, one of the most alarming diseases that I think I confronted as a nurse was gentlemen with prostate cancer. And prostate cancer is the most common cancer diagnosed in Australian men, with around 20,000 new cases each year, and it leads to more than 3,300 deaths a year. Now, those statistics are kind of important enough, aren't they? But what always struck me more, and I remember talking to Michael about this when I first met him, and to Professor Declan Murphy about this, it's not just the incidence, the prevalence, and the mortality rate, but it's also the symptomatology and the pain and discomfort that these men can experience in advanced disease. So this is a very, very significant cancer, and therefore an absolutely critical area for us all to focus on. At Peter Mac, we have established a strategy based on research-led clinical care to focus on these men. Together with global and national collaborators, we are researching and developing a revolutionary new technology. This technology has proven effective for both imaging and the treatment of men with advanced prostate cancer. And very promisingly, over the past 5 years, our clinical trials are yielding really important results. And we are pleased to be here today to progress this even further. I would now like to introduce the Peter Mac Board Chair, the Honourable Professor Maxine Morand, to say a few words about the importance of the Prostate Theranostics and Imaging Centre of Excellence, which I suggest we call ProsTIC, because that's too difficult to say, which we are here to launch today. Maxine is a professorial fellow at Monash University in the School of Public Health and Preventative Medicine. She is also a board chair of the Association of Australian Medical Research Institutes and a former Victorian government minister. Over to you, Maxine.
Thanks very much, Shelley. I hope you can all hear me, and thank you for attending today. And in our new COVID world, it doesn't allow us to all to be together in person, but the technology which we all have become so very familiar with is allowing us the opportunity to share this important event with everybody that's there today at Peter Mac, and more importantly, all the people that are joining us from around the globe. And we do hope that we'll see you in person one day soon. I want to add my welcome to Anthony Carbine, the Victorian Parliamentary Secretary for Health, representing the Minister of Health today. Anthony and I served in Parliament together, and I know he is a very significant supporter of Peter Mac. Of course, to our Chief Executive, Shelley Dolan, and Professor Michael Hoffman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Our wonderful senior Peter Mac staff here today. And of course, a very, very warm welcome to the three faces I can see at the bottom of my screen. I think everybody else can see them too. Is Dr. Howard Sewell, Dr. Jonathan Simons, and Mr. Stein Eric Hagen. A very, very warm welcome to you from around the globe. It's great to have you here to officially launch the Prostate Cancer Theranostics and Imaging Centre of Excellence, or as Shelley says, ProsTIC, here at Peter Mac in Melbourne. And as all know, Peter Mac is one of the world's leading cancer research, education and treatment centres globally. And for those of you who don't know, we're the only public hospital in Australia that is solely dedicated to caring for people affected by cancer. We have more than 2,500 staff, including 650 laboratory and clinical researchers, all of them working with the same passion and commitment, a single purpose, and that's world-best cancer care through better treatments and working on potential cures for cancers. So I think today's announcement is very much in line with our core purpose. Professor Michael Hoffman and his team are world leaders in theranostics, and the term is derived, and I've only recently been told this, is a combination of the words therapeutics and diagnostics. And when you see the images from Professor Hoffman's trials, it's hard not to be impressed. Men who have previously had large amounts of prostate cancer identified within their bodies suddenly have much reduced amounts of cancer. And for men, that's really an incredible game changer. And last week, one of Professor Hoffman's patients, Steve, came into Peter Mac to talk about how this revolutionary new treatment has absolutely and fundamentally changed his life. He talked about how his pain had been radically reduced, how his life had been extended, and that was after a diagnosis that looked extremely poor. Steve's story isn't isolated, and over the past 5 years of clinical trials, we have seen some absolutely remarkable results. And later, you'll hear from another patient, Anton, whose life has also been significantly improved and extended because of this amazing treatment. At Peter Mac, we've established a strategy based on research-driven clinical care, translating exciting developments from research bench to bedside under one roof. So we want to thank our generous contributors who've made ProsTIC a reality. And thank you very much to the Prostate Cancer Foundation and to the incredibly generous donation from Mr. Stein Eric Hagen. And back to you, Shelley. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxine. I would now like to introduce a video that will showcase I'm going to say ProsTICs, and the multidisciplinary Peter Mac team that will support it. But again, before I do so, can I just mention that this Centre of Excellence is only possible through to the generosity of the Prostate Cancer Foundation and their donor, Mr. Stein Eric Hagen. Thank you all so much for your contribution to this important project. And now let's watch this video. And I'm hoping that everyone can see it.
PSMA, or prostate-specific membrane antigen, is a protein expressed on the surface of prostate cancer cells. We use radioactive small molecules that act as a homing device to seek out prostate cancer cells. These are injected in tiny amounts into the body. This has no adverse effects. The compound travels around the bloodstream and is taken up into prostate cancer cells. A special scanner called a PET scanner then produces whole-body, three-dimensional images. We performed the first PSMA PET here at Peter Mac in 2014, and it was immediately evident to us that this was a game-changing technology. This technology is not just for imaging, but can also be used for treatment. We changed the type of radioactivity from one with relatively low energy, used for scans, that passes out of the body, to a therapeutic type called lutetium-177. The lutetium-177 travels only 1 millimetre and deposits high-energy radiation to kill cancer cells. In 2015, we treated our first patient with lutetium PSMA as part of a world-first clinical trial here at Peter Mac. The results were published in 2018 and demonstrated some unprecedented responses in men who had failed standard therapies. In this image, we can see the PET scans before and after treatment in 8 men who participated in this trial with widespread prostate cancer spread. ProsTIC, the Prostate Cancer, Theranostics and Imaging Centre of Excellence, has been established to accelerate research in this new type of technology, and we hope we can improve outcomes for men with prostate cancer.
In order to further advance this field and have a global impact, this centre has 3 aims. Firstly, accelerating research in precision diagnosis and treatment using PSMA imaging and theranostics. To date, this therapy has been used as a last line of treatment in men who have failed all available options. Our research focus is to move this earlier in the treatment paradigm. The second aim is education. ProsTIC will serve as a global reference centre to educate doctors, scientists, patients and community about the application and benefits of this exciting new technology. And finally, discovery research, which will span multiple domains from basic laboratory research, developing next-generation radiopharmaceuticals, better image analysis, and seamlessly translating this to the clinic to benefit our patients with prostate cancer.
ProsTIC will help us establish a portfolio of approximately 10 practice-changing clinical trials. We are currently running a clinical trial called LUPAP, which is funded through the Prostate Cancer Foundation. This study is looking at the novel combination of lutetium PSMA and a PARP inhibitor, which targets DNA repair.
So a key advantage of theranostic treatments is because we use the same molecule to target the tumour and therefore see where it is with our imaging studies, we know that the therapeutic agent is going to go where we want it. And we know how much of the therapeutic agent is likely to get there by looking at the intensity of the uptake on the imaging studies. In this way, we can personalise treatment and deliver it only to those patients who are most likely to benefit.
This technology is transforming the way we manage men with prostate cancer. By having more accurate information about the location and extent of cancer, as we do with PET imaging, we can better tailor treatments to improve patient outcomes. We led a phase 3 study, the PRO-PSMA study, which we recently published in The Lancet, which demonstrated that PSMA PET-CT was greatly superior to conventional imaging for detecting cancer location. And we also showed that there was less radiation, less time involved, and less uncertainty about the findings that we're seeing on scans. So clearly, PRO-PSMA has demonstrated PSMA PET-CT is by far the best way to stage newly diagnosed men with prostate cancer.
Unlike the conventional pharmaceuticals that you would buy from the pharmacy, radiopharmaceuticals are produced in-house using automated procedures that take place in our labs every day to produce diagnostics and therapeutics for imaging and therapy of different cancers. My research focuses on the development of efficient radiopharmaceuticals for the clinic.
The integration of fundamental preclinical research into the Centre of Excellence is one of our key priorities. In fact, the concept of bench-to-bedside and back-again research to improve patient outcomes is ingrained in the strategy and direction of the centre.
We take the patient's tumours from the clinic and engraft them into mice known as avatars. The avatars are then used to design and improve drugs and therapies.
As part of our research, we can also take blood from men being treated and use it to analyse fragments of tumour DNA. This enables us to perform genetic analysis of the tumour without performing painful biopsies. We hope this will become a standard of care to help better personalised therapies and assist with monitoring treatments.
I'm a surgeon and my PhD will take me back to the lab to look at tissue specimens from men who've undergone treatment with lutetium PSMA. We'll be doing some advanced analysis to look at the changes in the tumour microenvironment, and we're very excited at the potential discoveries.
I'm a nuclear medicine specialist doing a PhD developing new clinical trials in PSMA Theranostics and using artificial intelligence to help us better analyze the large volume of data generated from our studies.
With the growing use of Psma Pet in the community, these scans and treatments are continuing to change the way we care for and treat our complex prostate cancer patients.
Specialist nurses are a core part of the GU oncology team at Peter Mac. We have a multidisciplinary team meeting each week. This brings us together with doctors and other health professionals and research staff to discuss patient needs and identify for the best treatment for individual patients.
My treatment looks like very successful, and I feel grafts now. Apparently my cancer is gone 99% away, melted away, and I feel 100% better. This hospital has been really God-given to me because, I had a death sentence hanging on me. Now I'm almost cured. So I'm very grateful for treatment.
Wow. I mean, isn't that incredible? I feel we have to do a round of applause. I've never seen anything anywhere in the world like that. I think that is absolutely incredible, and I feel so proud to be part of this endeavour, although a very small part. So thank you to everybody that made that film and all the endeavours that are going on to make it a reality. I'd now like to introduce our colleagues from the Prostate Cancer Foundation, Dr. Howard Sewell and Dr. Jonathan Simons, and thank Mr. Mike Milken, who has pre-recorded a video. Dr. Sewell coordinates global academic, government and biopharmaceutical sector research activity and is responsible for the implementation of the Prostate Cancer Foundation's global research strategies. Dr. Sewell has been with the Foundation for 19 years. He has a PhD from Baylor College of Medicine in virology and epidemiology and was a postdoctoral fellow in immunology and vascular biology at the Scripps Research Institute.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. Afternoon for you, morning for Mr. Hagen, and night for us. We've been at the forefront as a foundation supporting cutting-edge cancer research for over 25 years. We bring together the world's best and brightest, working on the most promising ideas, including Theranostics at the Peter Mac. I should say that when the foundation was first organized by Mike Milken in 1993, one of the first research grants he made was to a PSMA project. So we have history, and now we're glad to join the history with Peter Mac. This research enterprise that Dr. Simons and I manage really identified Theranostics several years ago as a priority area that really promises to make a difference in prostate cancer patients' lives. And we're beginning to see that now. And specifically, Professor Hoffman at Peter Mac is leading leading the world with his pioneering research in Theranostics. You just saw in that brilliant video a transdisciplinary team identified that really has few peers globally. We as a foundation are proud to partner with Peter Mac to launch ProsTIC, this therapeutic and diagnostics center of excellence will clearly accelerate research and contribute to our goal, which is the end of prostate cancer as a death sentence for men and their families. We are also deeply appreciative to Stein Erik Hagen, his family's wisdom and generosity that makes this unique center of excellence for patients possible. Thank you very much, Stein Erik. Hopefully we can go together someday soon to the Peter Mac. I've been there. It's a beautiful and very positive environment for patients. And now I'd like to turn the microphone to Dr. Jonathan Simons, our president and CEO of our foundation. Dr. Simons?
Thanks, Howard. Thank you so much, Howard. I just wanted to add a few bits of data. First of all, Stein Erik is 5,324 miles away in Oslo from the Santa Monica Mountains where I sit. You all at the Peter Mac are 7,932 miles if you fly like a bird according to the Google Maps. So we have really almost 14,000 miles of distance in a way, except that we're all so close and in the same spot in the history of prostate cancer research, of seeing a great way forward with a great cancer center with first in field work. Second is the term Theranostics is Greek. Actually, theros means power. So therapy actually means magical power if your ancient Greek is good. So we're using a 2,000-year-old word, which brings hope but has science, because of course the ostics are all about basically the data or the information for therapeutic power, and that fits perfectly with Stein Erik Hagen and his whole philosophy of philanthropy around the world. It's to use data to be a smart investor, and then use leverage and power, basically the power of relationships, to affect social change. So as great as the Peter Mac is, how great it is that the Hagen family and Stein Erik Hagen bear the name together in this amazing and really historic adventure. I had a couple other simple numbers. Our foundation has reduced the death rate in the United States by 52% since Michael Milken founded the foundation. So the death rate from prostate cancer reduced by 52% means we have 48% of the way to go around the world. And we think out of Australia and out of the Center of Excellence, you've created a model of its kind for a whole new kind of healing treatment for advanced disease, and we think actually for micrometastatic disease. And we see this center in the world radiating out to patients in Norway, patients in North America, patients in Europe, patients in Asia. So we see this historic moment as sort of a beacon of light. The ancient Greeks also had not one but 5 words for love. So we all know eros, because that's passionate sexual love. We know philos and philosophy. That's the love of ideas. But the highest form of love in ancient Greek was agape. And the Hagen family are that manifestation in their philanthropy and care about solving the world's problems. Agape means care for humanity, neither sexual nor intellectual. It's the true caring. Agape is the love for everyone else. And so this is a great moment, we think, in medical research history for cancer, of the application of Norwegian gratitude for life and for health, but sharing it with research around the world up ahead. And we wouldn't be here tonight if it weren't for the chairman of our science committee, Chris Evanson, Rolf Christian Evanson, a Norwegian American who's a prostate cancer survivor and has really led our foundation to go global from our amazing start in North America over these last 14 years where he's changed the, really he himself as a citizen scientist has helped change the whole world of prostate cancer research and care. Lastly, as I send it back, you saw the leadership of Professor Michael Hoffman. We think he's peerless in the world as a diplomat, as a passionate doctor, as a physician scientist. And we look for great things in the young people. I know Stein Erik feels this strongly as well. We believe the world just lit up tonight with the opening of the center, a new place for training in this new area of Theranostics. So, you know, in the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, maybe one of the most powerful lines of those many amazing lines are, the words for it is in giving that we receive. On behalf of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, on behalf of thousands and thousands of patients with cancer who are going to benefit from this area, we give thanks that we're receiving tonight the Peter MacCallum and Stein Erik Hagen's philanthropy together to accelerate the end of death and suffering from prostate cancer. Thank you all so much, and sure is fun to be with you tonight.
I am looking forward to great anticipation to see the Stein Erik News Center at the Peter MacCallum in Melbourne. It was more than 20 years ago when I had a chance to give my first talk in Melbourne at the Peter MacCallum, one of the leading cancer centers in the world. The focus on new ideas, imaging, and treatment will be a center. It was at one of the scientific retreats for the Prostate Cancer Foundation not too long ago. When I heard people in the audience ask, who are these two individuals who have totally new theories about what ulcers are about? A few years later, they weren't asking, as both of them won a Nobel Prize. One of the most exciting buildings in the world to work in, the new Peter MacCallum Institute in Australia, I had a chance in the last few years to go there and give a speech again. But the study of PSMA and the identifying prostate cancer with world-class imaging earlier holds the key to eliminating prostate cancer as a cause of death. Stein Erik, I want to congratulate you on your foresight in supporting this, and obviously the Peter MacCallum has matched your gift. Hopefully this will have the same success as many other things that have come out of this research team in Australia. A fully integrated team combining imaging and modern diagnostics to identify prostate cancer early and then coupling it with the most advanced treatment. Once again, congratulations. I hope you and your family are both healthy and safe, and I look forward to when we visit the center together. All the best.
Thank you very much. Can I now introduce Mr. Stein Erik Hagen to say a few words?
Thank you. With the help of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, my goal was to find an institution where my family's philanthropy would have the greatest global opportunity to deliver the most promising curative treatments for men with advanced prostate cancer. I'm pleased to say that we found our partner in the expertise for patients that resides at the Peter Mac Cancer Centre in Australia. The Peter Mac Cancer Centre is a model of its kind for discovery, development, and delivery to the world of this new precision theranostic for cancer that so often can become chemotherapy resistant. Peter Mac is unique in the world in its fully integrated care team for advanced prostate cancer patients and its immense clinical trial infrastructure. The Prostate Cancer Foundation is focusing on delivering precision treatments for metastatic prostate cancer. The team members at the Peter Mac Cancer Centre have been the architects of the most cutting-edge approaches. I am confident that this Centre of Excellence will prove invaluable in delivering on its promise to prostate cancer patients through expert medical oncology, urology, nuclear medicine, and basic science. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. I hope all of you can hear the warm applause that is breaking out very spontaneously here. And I'd like to repeat my thanks again to Dr. Howard Sewell, Dr. Jonathan Simons, Mr. Mike Milken, and Mr. Stein Eric Hagen. A very, very sincere thank you to you all. It is now my pleasure to introduce Anthony Carbine, Parliamentary Secretary for Health. Mr. Carbines was elected State Member for Ivanhoe in November 2010 and has served as Parliamentary Secretary across a number of portfolios before becoming Parliamentary Secretary for Health in 2018. He is a former political advisor and a local government councillor and started his professional career as a journalist. Mr. Carbines, it is a huge pleasure to welcome you back to Peter Mac today. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shelley. It's great to be back. And I noticed in the video, I was going to say to Michael that in previous visits I've had the opportunity to meet many of the clinicians in their labs, and I see them very much at home again in the video, and I wonder whether perhaps they don't get much chance to be let out. But I know people are very committed and working hard, so perhaps in context it's a bit easier to remember people from past visits. I'd like to acknowledge the First Peoples and traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to elders who've joined us here today. To Shelley, of course, for being such a kind host again, but to Professor Johnston, to Associate Professor Wall, to Professor Michael Hoffman, of course, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you. To Maxine Morand, of course, 20-odd years ago I was thinking, when we were first working together, of all things, when you were advising and providing a lot of work in public health policy. Back then I didn't know what I didn't know, but I'm at least at the point now I think I know what I don't know. But a lot of time has passed, and it's great to see you still, of course, leading and working in the health field still, and here at Peter Mac. So great to spend some time again with you today. I'm probably going to start at the end. Before I do, to Dr. Sewell and Dr. Simmons and to Stein Eric Hagen for your words and collaboration and leadership. We're so very thankful to you all, and it's great to hear from you today. But in starting at the end, I suppose it brings me to the point where back in my electorate, and while it's across the world, you can still make the same comparison because football in Melbourne is back later tonight. And what that reminds me of, though, is while we don't have crowds and people in local communities, in my electorate, when you have the opportunity to stand in the outer with mostly other blokes, and you have the opportunity to have conversations about a range of things while football goes on around you. The number of times you have a conversation that relates to prostate cancer and people's challenges and journeys in fighting that illness seems to grow in more and more often. In part, that's because people feel a willingness to have those conversations more than they have in the past. And that is a lot to do with the advocacy and the work that so many of you do to seek cures, to seek appropriate assistance and research and support for people. But I just wanted to, I suppose, that's where it's real for me and real for so many people in their communities. And if people could have the opportunity to, I think, see some of the very dedicated work and the new frontiers that people are investing in and working so hard to deliver results in, they draw a lot of comfort from that. In the main, what people do with Peter Mac is they will experience the care here They're counting on you and they rely on you, and the international collaborations and the work you do mean a lot when you're then back out there in your communities in the outer with other men and their families and the challenges that they are living through with prostate cancer. But in the main, fortunately, upbeat and positive about their treatment journey and what their understanding of that means and the support that they get in the community. But that, I think, brings it back to the work you're doing here and what that means for so many people right across, not just here in Victoria, but as we've heard, right across the world and the changes that that's making. So that's absolutely critical. Can I say to Professor Hoffman that we know that the work that they're going to be doing here, the multidisciplinary team of nuclear medicine, of medical oncology, of radiation oncology, urology and laboratory-based doctors and researchers with, again, that really strong patient-centred philosophy. ProsTIC's going to deliver research to provide new paradigms for the treatment of prostate cancer, integration of clinical trials, preclinical and discovery research. It's going to align with really a lot of what our government is seeking to do to improve the care, the experience and the outcomes for our cancer patients. We all want to support people with cancer, but trying to structure some of that over the past few years through the Victorian Cancer Plan has been about our broader goal of seeking to save some 10,000 lives by 2025. And by 2040, what we're trying to do with your leadership and support and hard work is halve the proportion of Victorians diagnosed with preventable cancers, to double the improvement in 1 and 5 year survival of Victorians with cancer, to ensure that Victorians have the best possible experience of cancer treatment and care in the system, and that we get equitable outcomes for those in rural and regional and remote communities as well, who perhaps don't always understand the access and capacities that exist in those communities and their health services to support them. I know Minister MacCallum was here yesterday, and again, it's about in a COVID world, in our desire to treat people in their homes and treat people away from our tertiary health centres. At the same time, we need to encourage people to re-engage with their clinicians to make sure they are staying well in their communities when perhaps people have prioritised other demands in recent months. I also wanted to just add that research focus over the past 4 years around clinical trials, support for cancer researchers, and also our collaboration, which is another great example of that today, that it really is fitting that Peter Mac is playing such a really vital role in being the only public hospital in Australia solely dedicated to cancer, but also in places right across our state, whether that's at Living Newton-John Centre in my electorate and others. So many great collaborations through the VCCC that is just critical for not only patients, but the work that Mark was outlined to me about what this means around not just Victoria, around our country, around the work that people are doing to broaden out the capacity of our clinicians, the capacity of patients to seek care and treatment, and what that means. I'd like to thank the donor and Prostate Cancer Foundation of America for their generous donation and support of this Victorian-led research, as well as congratulating Professor Hoffman and the ProsTIC team collaborators. To Peter Mac, to Professor Maxine Morand, and of course to you, Shelley, thank you for your continued leadership and work in this field. So many people, as you know, are counting on you, but I know so many of you right across the world are dedicating your lives to improving the lives of people with cancer and the great benefit and joy that brings their families, the confidence it gives to the rest of us. Who undoubtedly at some point may face our own health challenges. And so it's just critical that you know that you inspire so many people through the work that you do, and the opportunities that have been presented today are a further demonstration of where we can go next. The sky really is the limit, and this is a great outcome for Peter Mac and people of Victoria who are affected by prostate cancer. So thanks very much, and we continue to look forward to the news of the work as the ProsTIC research and I suppose the work on the ground rolls out across Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Carbines. And do you know, I don't think we could have a single talk in this lecture theatre in Melbourne without the footy coming in somewhere. So it is great to see football amongst us today. We now come to the official part of the proceedings, and I would like to invite Professor Michael Hoffman to the lectern to receive the ProsTIC plaque. And we will hand over to Dr. Sewell to say a few words. We'll then invite Professor Hoffman to tell us about his vision for ProsTIC within Peter Mac. So I go to the red spot, following my orders. Do I try and pause this?
Michael, congratulations. You know, we wish we could be with you today and your colleagues at the Peter Mac. I think I'm muted.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, I wanted to congratulate you, Michael. This is a great tribute to your dedicated career to all the prostate cancer patients in the world and fulfilling the vision of Mr. Stein Eric Hagen and the Prostate Cancer Foundation. We are grateful for what you do and congratulate you wholeheartedly on the naming of this new center.
Thank you, Howard. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and particularly want to thank Minister Anthony Carbines for coming, Professor Maxine Morand, and our amazing host, Dr. Shelley Dolan. And it's really with great pleasure that we open ProsTIC at Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre today, thanks to the generosity of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, led by Dr. Howard Sewell and Dr. Jonathan Simons. I've had the opportunity to get to know them both well, bumping into them at regular international scientific meetings. Now that's limited to Zoom meetings, and also thank the other PCF board members who can't be with us today, and also Mr. Mike Milken, and of course our generous donor, Mr. Stein Eric Hagen. We'd planned this event twice already to happen in person, and due to COVID-19, we thought we better do it in virtual form, but we look forward to welcoming them in person. So over the next few minutes, I just want to tell you a little bit about our vision for ProsTIC and perhaps a few minutes on how we got here. So there are three broad aims for this Centre of Excellence. The first aim is to conduct further clinical trials in both prostate theranostics treatment and imaging. We already have a portfolio of 3 to 4 trials of PSMA underway in the therapy side of things, and we want to expand that to a portfolio of around 10 clinical trials. We also see a big role in education and leadership because whilst there are few centres in the world where this treatment is available at the moment, we see that changing over the next 10 years, and we want to provide the education and leadership so that this can become a standard of care for men globally. And the third goal is in discovery research, and that really spans the laboratory to translational research to the clinic, which is something we do so well here at Peter Mac. So how did we get to this point? Well, we performed the first PSMA PET scan at Peter Mac back in 2014. And for those who haven't seen a PSMA PET, this is what they look like. And this was a man with newly diagnosed prostate cancer who was scheduled to undergo a prostatectomy. But when we did the PSMA PET, we see these three-dimensional whole-body images showing quite extensive spread in lymph nodes going all the way up the abdomen. And when we look at the CT scan, these lymph nodes are really small, measuring 2 to 3 millimetres in size. So this cannot be appreciated on conventional technology. And this changed the patient's management significantly because a prostatectomy on its own had no hope of curing this man. And we were able to change his management to something that's more likely to do him benefit. And this technology is not just about imaging, because as you've seen in these videos, we can just change the radioactive molecule from an imaging to a therapeutic molecule for treating men. And these are 8 men that were treated at Peter Mac in our first prospective clinical trial of this. and we can see the before and after PSMA PETs and how clearly these scans are able to show us how the tumours responded to this treatment. So over the course of the last 5 years, we've done a lot of work, and there's been a huge body of work done by a large number of researchers at Peter Mac, and I'd just like to highlight them on these slides. In green are the clinical trials underway, and there's several of them. In blue is a $6.5 million grant from the Movember and Medical Research Future Fund to bring this treatment earlier, and in red is the new PCF-funded Centre of Excellence. So we started with a trial that was published in 2018, really the first trial of this treatment globally. More recently, we've got a trial combining this treatment with immunotherapy, and thanks to a PCF Challenge Award, interestingly also funded through Stein Erik Hagen, we're conducting a world-first trial here combining lutetium PSMA with a drug called a PARP inhibitor, which inhibits DNA repair. And we hope that the combination of these two drugs will result in even better efficacy of this novel treatment. And the key underpinning this research is really the multidisciplinary team, and Minister Carbine's alluded to that. We really have a great team of nuclear medicine doctors working with medical oncologists, radiation oncologists, urologic surgeons, and our laboratory researchers, really all working together in the one room. We come together for this multidisciplinary meeting each week, and Howard Sewell had the pleasure in sitting in one of these meetings, I think only about a year ago, and it really is a great collaboration of different specialties, all working on the same goal to improve the outcomes of the men that we treat. And the program is underpinned by really a patient-centred focus. This is a patient who was treated in our centre, Barry Elderfield, who's sort of gone out to the newspapers and trying to tell everyone how great this treatment is. But it's more than just advertising, because we really get the patients involved in the care. And Barry Elderfield is on our grant applications now, and he actually reviews the clinical trials protocols, reviews the patient information consent forms, so it becomes a core part of our training. And we have two patients in the audience today with us who have had lutetium PSMA treatment at our centre, and we'll do some photos afterwards and mingle a little bit. But really the patients are the focus of our treatment program and the reason that we all come to work every day. So with that, I'd like to thank once again the PCF for their real generous offer and grant funding of this Centre of Excellence, in particular Stein Erik Hagen, for providing that and allowing us to continue on our journey to expand our research portfolio at Peter Mac. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Michael Hoffman. So it falls to me now to close our proceedings for today. And I just wanted to take a minute to reflect with all of you. And that's all of us across the world. I think the world has gone through one of its toughest times for the last 100 years. And we have seen in my country, in the United States, across Europe and across many countries, one of the hardest times for everybody to face, for governments to face, and for individual people to face. But I think here today in Melbourne, we have a huge ray of hope. And I feel very, very honoured and privileged indeed to be here as we celebrate today this moment of hope. I particularly want to reflect on the whole of the multidisciplinary team that I can see before me here that is part of that journey. It's always really important, I think, to remember that fundamental science starts this whole journey. We think a lot about the translation from bed to bedside and into the human being, into the patient, but actually nothing starts without those amazing ideas and the fundamental science that starts everything. So I want to thank all of those people here today who, as Anthony said, are often shut away in their labs, but actually do the most important work to inspire the start of the journey. And then all of you that work in the clinic and from the whole multidisciplinary team that translate that inspiring idea into a medicine, a therapeutics that translates and then it transforms the life of people with prostate cancer. So on behalf of Peter MacCallum, please can I join everybody to say a huge thank you to everybody that works here in this iconic building to make these amazing discoveries and translations. Can I thank again our colleagues from the United States? Can I thank Mr. Stein Erik Hagen for his incredible philanthropy and generosity and his vision? Can I thank our chair, the Honourable Maxine Morand, and can I thank again Mr. Anthony Carbines for coming today and for all of the government support that we get here at Peter Mac. Finally, can I thank Jennifer and our foundation for all of the work you do with us. And just can I endorse all of you to have a big round of applause for everybody here, for Michael Hoffman and his team, for all of our support worldwide. And let's give everybody a big round of applause. Finally, I want to thank our Director of Communications, Vanessa O'Shaughnessy, and all of the comms team for making sure this works. This has been probably one of the most difficult events to put on across the world. I can't remember all of the metrics, but it's a long way across the world. So thank you, a very big thank you to Vanessa and the team. And please do join us outside for some photographs. Thank you all again.